Here's a case that is specifically for you if you are one of those people who puts off the big decisions in life for later. I'm sorry, but someone's got to call you out. My clients, Hiren and Tina, have turned to me for their financial planning and life insurance advice for over 16 years as a couple. My journey with each of them began, however, individually. I met them before they met each other and before they got married, and advised them both independently on their finances even back in the day. They now have 2 children. The oldest son is soon ready for high school. Today, they're in their late 40s, and as is typical for that age group, there's a rise in levels of critical illness in their friend circle. They're starting to think about the R word, retirement. And it's just, all in all, an action-packed decade of life. As we typically do every few years, about 5 years ago, we revisited Hiren and Tina's finances. In the process, my analyst and I identified that they didn't have sufficient cover in place. Based on their levels of income and the expenses at the time, they were about $250,000 short on their critical illness cover and about $1.3 million short on life insurance cover. And so we recommended an upgrade. Very apprehensively, the couple agreed to do so, and they got their medicals done and their applications in place. Tina passed with flying colors. She's a busy, on-the-move corporate executive, but has always been health conscious. Hiren's was a different story. Like Tina, he's also an on-the-move, high-flying corporate executive, but he's a smoker and an exorbitant coffee consumer. His BMI didn't look great either, although that is not an absolute indicator. Paired with everything else, it is a sign. Things weren't looking great for him. And so back then, in 2019, the insurance company agreed to offer Hiren cover, but at a significantly higher premium than the average person his age. This offer was for a 35-year-long term life insurance policy. Hiren chose to decline the offer. Instead, he opted to put in place a much lower-priced minimum 10-year term life policy, 5 years to be precise, and told me he'd use the 5 years to get his health back on track. And then we'd reapply to secure a better price policy for him. So we deferred the long-term policy, put the 5-year policy in place, and Hiren agreed that we'd meet once every 6 months or so to check in on his progress with his health goals. We did meet, but Hiren didn't seem to make any progress on those health goals. We'd still meet around 7:30 p.m. and he'd still be puffing away at those cigarettes and putting away 1 or 2 double espressos during our meetings. Last year, when Hiren had 1 year to go on his life insurance policy, I urged him to start the application process for that longer term policy. I was met with a lot of resistance. Ultimately, he did his medicals, but did not follow through on his application. The medicals expired. Now the timeline was getting a little uncomfortable. A few months ago, Hiren had 2 months left until his 5-year term policy would collapse. Upon much insistence from Tina and me, he agreed to go through with his medicals again and put that application in. But this time, the insurance company declined the cover. They said that his lifestyle and health had deteriorated significantly over the years. He had 3 to 6 months to turn his health around, and he could try again. In 2 months' time, Hiren's existing 5-year policy is going to expire, and he has no way to procure cover until he turns his health around over the next 6 months. Should anything happen in that window, he'd be leaving his wife and kids unprotected. They'd have Tina's income and their collective assets to fall back upon. Here's my point. Hiren, like many others, waited for the perfect time. Not only did it not come, but in the process, he also managed to lose the options that he did have available on the table. Hiren's next steps now are to work hard to turn his health around. The sooner he can turn his health back on track, the sooner he can plug the hole in his family's protection plan. I know this is probably one of the hardest sold angles when it comes to life insurance, but it is my duty to bring this forward over here. Can you really truly afford to wait? Can you truly afford to miss your eligibility window to get the best possible amount of life cover in place? Often the question of affordability is placed in the wrong context. It's not about whether you can afford to pay for the policy. It's about whether you can afford not to have it in place when you need it the most.